honest, I just wanna see this world fucking.
Alright, so in this video I'm going to tell you 3 different adjustments you can make to your diet that are going to allow you to lose fat a lot faster, and you don't even have to be doing high intensity interval training or longevity worthy moderate training either. You don't have to do a lot of cardio if you want to lose fat, as long as you do make big changes to your diet. So in this video I'm just going to give you 3 tips, but in detail, about what adjustments to make to your diet, how to do them and why they work. Alright, so first one that's quite simple is you want to swap from processed foods to whole foods. So that's an example of swapping from white bread to whole bread, from white rice to brown rice, stuff like that. So things that have extra sweeteners and flavours in them are what you call processed food, where they go through a process of things that make them more appealing to an appetite. It's most mainstream foods really, but what you want to do is get rid of those and then swap to their counteracts as a whole grain. So like I said, don't have white bread, have whole grain bread. So you might think, why? Alright, the answer to why is basically when you digest food in your body, you burn calories. So the process of digestion obviously uses energy in your body, and using energy in your body burns calories. So what you want to do is eat whole foods, because it takes your body more energy, more effort to process those foods, so you burn more calories. So just by changing the types of food you eat, not even by much, you're not swapping from junk food to the most healthy food in the world, even though you should, but from whole foods and processed foods differences, you're burning more calories and you're not even moving. So that's something that appeals to a lot of people. And another thing with the whole foods is they actually contain much more nutrients, because it's not been played around with to have more sweeteners and sugars and things like that. They're just the natural way they should be, which is why they're a lot better for the body, which is why they just work a lot better with us internally. So they've got more nutrients and they burn more calories in the digestion process. So that's 2 reasons why you should swap from processed foods to whole grain foods. Right, a third reason that you want to swap from processed foods to whole grain foods is they're also an appetite suppressant. What that means is that they keep you full for a longer period of time than a processed food would. So instead of after your meal, let's say you have a meal full of processed foods, you might be full for 2 hours and then you might feel peckish again, you might want a snack, you might want another meal. If you've replaced that meal with the same foods but as a whole grain version, you might be full for double that time, so you might be another 4 hours until you need another snack or meal. Obviously the time of that does depend on what food you did eat, but I'm going to also tell you that next. So the next thing after tip number 1, which is to swap from processed foods to whole grain foods, it's just 5 foods that are really good appetite suppressants. So 5 foods that keep you full for long. So I'm just going to list them off. You've got potatoes, oats, veg, eggs and fish. Those 5 foods are like superfoods for appetite suppressant. They all rank in the top 11 foods to suppress your appetite, and they're all quite appealing anyway. They're all quite, well, personally I quite like them all, but like, instead of having cereal for breakfast, have a bowl of oats or have a bowl of eggs. And then instead of having general fried chips, deep fried chips, because they're bad for you anyway, they're full of oil, just have some potatoes. Have jacket potato for your tea. Fish, that's got omega-3 oil in there, that's really good as well. Fish is really good for you. That's also got a lot of protein. And then your veg, that's just got pretty much all the minerals you need. As long as you keep variety, don't just eat one veg all the time, but that's got like all the minerals that you need. And then they're not really they're like, they're emptying calories. Veg is not a calorie dense food, so a calorie dense food doesn't fill your stomach up. So it might take up a minimal amount of space in your stomach, but it might be a lot of calories. Veg will fill your stomach up, so you'll feel full, but you've not consumed a lot of calories, which is why they're an appetite suppressant. That's what these foods do. So they fill your stomach up, the amount your stomach can hold, they'll fill up that space, but they're not full of calories, which is why they're an appetite suppressant. And that's pretty much exactly what you want to start fitting into your diet. So in your diet now, you want to have more eggs, potatoes, fish, veg, all these kind of things. They're going to help you suppress your appetite, stop you from snacking on bad foods like chocolate and sweets. That's the key thing in dieting really. And then the last tip is just to be in a caloric deficit. So a calorie deficit is when you eat less calories than you need to maintain your weight. So for an example, you might need to eat 3,000 calories in order to maintain the current weight that you're at. So if you need 3,000 calories, then a calorie deficit would be if you were to consume, that's daily by the way, 3,000 calories daily, not like weekly or monthly or anything. But a calorie deficit would be to reduce the amount of calories that you're actually taking. So instead of eating your 3,000 that you need, you might be eating 2,750 or 2,800. The amount of calories that you reduce it by doesn't really matter. There are like calorie calculators that you can use on Google. I'll link to one in the description. But they'll tell you a healthy metric to do it by, like if you wanted to lose half a kilo a week, a kilo a week, a quarter a kilo a week. And then depending on your goal, you'll decide based on your own preference there. So ways to get into a calorie deficit is to eat these foods that I was talking about, because they're low in calories and they fill you up, they suppress your appetite. That's what you need to be doing. So I'm just going to sum up this video right now. So what you need to do in order to have a good diet for fat loss, you swap from processed foods to whole grain foods. Why? You burn more calories in the digestion process, they keep you full for longer as they're an appetite suppressant, and they've got a lot more nutrients in there anyway, which is better for multiple parts of your body. Tip number 2 was the food examples, which was fish, eggs, veg, oats and potatoes. And tip number 3 was to just be in a calorie deficit. That's going to be the end of this video, but if you do want meal examples, a day-to-day eating example, let me know in the comments. I'll note that down. I'll get making that as soon as I realise that you actually want that. But I'm going to end this video here. So thank you for watching. Make sure to check out my other videos. I've got playlist links in the description. I've got cards up here if you want my at-home workouts. So just make sure to check those out. Subscribe for more. And yeah, that's that.
Honest, I just wanna see this world fucking